Valari was born on a frozen planet called Krylos. Her people were tall and slim, with smooth silver skin and sharp features. But Valari was different. She was bigger, taller, wider, stronger. At birth, the medics whispered, "She will never be able to reproduce. Her body is too large. She is defective." Her parents cried. The elders gave one order: send her away before others see. So they did. They built her a small wooden shelter on the edge of the wastelands, far from the city. Far from their shame, Valari grew up alone, surrounded by ice and silence. She had no friends, no visitors, only the sound of the cold wind and the crackle of firewood inside her tiny home. When she was a child, she cried often. As a teenager, she stopped crying. And as a grown female, she stopped hoping. She knew she was different, too big, too unwanted. Her own reflection in the frozen lake made her feel like a monster. Her body didn't look like the others. Her hips were wide, her chest heavy, her limbs strong. But what hurt the most was what they told her: you can never become a mother. Valari accepted that. Or at least, she thought she did. Then one day, a sound broke the silence. A loud crash. A glowing light streaked across the sky like a falling star. It landed not far from her home. She stepped outside, snow brushing against her bare blue feet, and stared at the smoke rising in the distance. Her heart raced. Curiosity overpowered fear. She wrapped herself in a fur cloak and followed the trail. When she reached the crash site, her eyes widened. A metal ship, small and broken, sat half buried in the snow. The door was open. Something or someone was inside. She crouched behind a boulder and waited. Minutes passed. Then she saw him. A man stepped out, coughing. His skin was pale, his hair short and light brown. He wore a thick jacket and strange gloves. His face was tired, but alive. A human, she realized. Valari had only heard stories about them. Wild, dangerous, emotional, but also brave and kind. She didn't know which one this man was. So she stayed hidden and watched him. For the next 2 days, the human struggled to repair his ship. He limped as he walked, one leg clearly hurt. He built a fire. He melted snow for water. He didn't see her watching from the trees. But on the third night, a sound gave her away. Crunch, the human turned quickly and grabbed a metal stick. "Who's there?" He shouted into the darkness. "VLAR. I froze. Show yourself." "I don't want to fight," he said again. She stepped forward, slowly. The snow glowed under the moonlight. Her tall blue body shimmered with cold mist. Long white hair fell over her shoulders. She was dressed in layers of woven cloth, but her shape was still clear, large, and powerful. The human lowered his stick. His eyes widened, not in fear, but in awe. "You're beautiful," he whispered. "VLAR." I blinked. She had never heard that word used for her, ever. "Don't come closer if you're scared," she said gently. "I'm not," he replied. "I'm just surprised. I didn't expect anyone, especially not someone like you." She took one step forward. "You are not afraid?" "No," he said. "Should I be?" Valari looked down at herself. Her wide body, her large hands. "Most people are." "Well," he said, smiling slightly. "I'm not most people. I'm Daniel." "Valari," she said. Snow fell quietly around them. A strange silence settled. But it wasn't cold anymore. Not between them. Daniel looked at her again and said, "Do you live out here alone?" Valari nodded. "Why?" "'Cause I don't belong anywhere else." Daniel frowned. "That's a sad answer." "It's the truth," she said. "I say I can never have children, so they cast me out. My body is too big." Daniel was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something that broke her world open. "Maybe your people are wrong." Valari looked at him, stunned. No one not once had said that. She didn't know it yet, but that moment would change everything. Because Daniel wasn't like the others. And neither was she. And something inside her heart, frozen for years, began to thaw. Valari had never talked to a human before. Now one was sitting by her fire. Daniel sat cross-legged on the floor of her small wooden shelter, warming his hands. He had a small smile on his face and eyes that looked Camevan after seeing her. She expected fear. She expected him to leave. But he stayed. The flames crackled between them, casting orange light on their faces. Valari sat on the opposite side, quiet and careful. She still didn't trust it. Kindness always came with a price war. A joke. Daniel took a sip of warm snow. Water and looked around. "This place is small," he said, "but it's cozy. You made it yourself." Valari nodded slowly. Years ago, no one helped. No one came. Daniel was quiet for a moment. Then he looked straight at her and asked, "Do you want me to leave?" Valari blinked. The question surprised her. Most people never asked what she wanted. They just made decisions about her. "No," she answered after a pause. "I don't want you to leave." A soft silence followed. Daniel smiled again, warmer this time. "Good, because I'm not in a hurry." Valari didn't smile back. She didn't know how. Instead, she stood and brought him a bowl of hot root stew. Her food was simple plants and mushrooms she grew outside, things that could survive the cold. He sniffed it and raised an eyebrow. "You sure this won't kill me?" he joked. She tilted her head. "Only if you're weak." Daniel laughed. "All right, I'll take the risk." He tasted it, then looked surprised. "Hey, this is actually good." Valari's shoulders relaxed a little. She sat down again. For the next hour, they spoke slowly, carefully. Daniel talked about Earth, about the stars, about how he got lost and crashed. Valari listened, her eyes wide. She hadn't heard so many words in years. Then Daniel asked her something personal. "Why do your people say you can't reproduce?" Valari looked into the fire. The light danced in her silver blue eyes. "They said my body is too big, that it would crush a child inside me, that something went wrong when I was growing." Daniel frowned. "But that's just a guess, right?" She nodded slowly. "But they believe it. So they never let me try. They called me a danger to the bloodline. I was sent away before I could ever know." Daniel leaned back, staring into the flames. "That's cruel." "It is normal," she replied. "In my world?" "Well," Daniel said, "your world sounds broken." Valari looked at him. He didn't say it to insult. He said it like he cared. Suddenly, a loud cracking sound echoed outside. Valari stood quickly, alert. Daniel grabbed a metal tool from his bag. They rushed outside. A tall beast, 4 legs, thick fur, sharp claws, was sniffing around the edge of the shelter. A snow hunter, a dangerous, hungry. VLR. I moved fast. She picked up a long wooden spear and stepped forward. Daniel stared. He had seen aliens before, but never one move like her. Strong, confident, graceful. The snow hunter growled and jumped toward them. But Valari didn't flinch. She slammed her spear into the ground, sending a shock through the snow. Her voice rose in a sharp, deep sound, a cry of warning. The beast stopped mid-step, eyes wide. Then, slowly, it turned and ran into the woods. Daniel's jaw dropped. That was amazing. Valari didn't smile. She was breathing hard, heart racing. But she stayed calm. "I've fought many," she said simply. Daniel stepped closer. "You saved us." She looked away. "You shouldn't have to be saved." "Why not?" he said. That's what people do. They save each other. Valari didn't know what to say, so she walked back inside. Daniel followed, slower. When they sat again by the fire, he looked at her with a new expression: respect. Not pity, not fear, not confusion. Just respect. I don't think your body is wrong, he said softly. I think it's powerful. Valeri's throat tightened. You don't know what you're saying, she whispered. I do, he replied. I see you. Her eyes burned. She turned away so he wouldn't see the tear fall. It had been years since she cried, but this time it wasn't from pain. It was from something new. Hope. The night had fallen heavy over Krylos. Cold wind howled outside, but inside Valara's shelter, the fire still burned low and steady. Daniel was resting, half asleep on the floor beside his tools. His injured leg was bandaged. Valari had wrapped him in 2 thick blankets made from animal fur. He looked peaceful. Valari sat beside him in silence, watching the fire dance. Her heart felt strange, too full, too warm. For years, she had only known silence and snow. Now there was another heartbeat in her world, and it made everything feel different. She didn't want to admit it, but she liked his voice, his eyes, even the way he laughed at her bad cooking. But most of all, she liked that he saw her, not as a broken body, but as a person. Valari. Daniel spoke suddenly. Eyes still closed? Are you still awake? Yes, she said. He turned his head toward her. Can I ask you something important? She nodded. Double quotes, what would you do if you could go back? If they hadn't sent you away? Valari was quiet for a long time. The question hit a deep place in her. She stared at the fire, then at her hands, big, strong, calloused. I don't think about that, she whispered. Why not? Because it hurts. Daniel slowly sat up, ignoring the pain in his leg. Tell me anyway. I want to know the truth, Valari hesitated. Then she looked at him. His eyes were steady, kind, waiting, so she spoke. When I was a child, I dreamed of being a mother. Like the other females in my clan, they had small, beautiful bodies. They danced during the moon festivals and sang to their newborns under the stars. She smiled sadly. I used to sing to myself, pretending I had a child in my arms. Daniel listened without interrupting. But then, the elders said I could never carry life. That my body was wrong. That I would crush any child I tried to. Grow inside me. I was too big, too wide. My body wouldn't bend the way theirs did. She paused, her voice cracking. So they sent me away before I could ever try, before I could even become close to someone. Daniel leaned forward. You believe them? Velar nodded slowly. They were my people. I had no reason to doubt them, but what if they were wrong? He said gently. Valari looked at him. And what if they were right? Daniel reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, object-a-broken photo card from his ship. It was faded, but Valari could see it clearly. A human woman and 2 small children standing in front of a tree. My sister, he explained. Doctors told her she couldn't have kids either. They said her body was too weak, her bones too thin. But she didn't listen. She tried anyway. He smiled. Now she has to. Valari stared at the photo for a long time. Daniel leaned closer. They told you something based on fear. But fear is not truth. You haven't tried, you don't know. Tears welled in Valara's eyes, but she held them back. Even if I could, I have no mate, no future. Daniel didn't speak. Instead, he reached out and placed his hand on hers. His touch was warm, gentle. You're not alone anymore, he said softly. She looked at their hands, hers large and blue, his small and pink. They didn't match. but something between them did. She whispered, "Why are you being kind to me?" "Because you deserve it," he said. "Because someone should have been kind to you long ago." Her throat tightened again. "You don't even know me." "I know enough," he said. "I know you're strong. I know you're smart. And I know you're not broken." She closed her eyes. "I want to believe that." He gave a soft squeeze to her hand. Things start with. Valari opened her eyes slowly. For the first time in many years, she felt something rising inside her. Not fear, not shame, but courage. She turned her face toward him. "Daniel, if you stay here, you might be in danger. My people don't like strangers. If they find you with me, then let them come," he said. "I'm not going anywhere." Valari stared at him, heart pounding. Something inside her cracked like ice under the first touch of spring. "Then I will show you everything," she said. "My world, my past, my truth." And with that, she stood and took a deep breath. Because for the first time, she wasn't hiding anymore. The sun never rose fully on Krylos. The sky stayed pale gray, and the land was always frozen. But that day, something inside Valari felt warmer than the world around her. She walked beside Daniel through the snowy woods, guiding him slowly. His legs still hurt, but he didn't complain. She had made him a walking stick from a strong branch, and every few steps, she looked back to check on him. Daniel smiled every time. "I'm fine, Valari. You don't have to worry." "I do," she said softly. They walked past the frozen lake where she used to sit alone, past the steep cliffs where the snow beasts howled at night, past the old tree that had somehow survived the frost. This was her world. Cold, empty, silent, until now. "I want to show you something," Valari said. They stopped in front of a cave. The opening was wide and dark, but warm air drifted out of it. Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Is this your secret hideout?" "Something like that," she said with a small smile. Inside, the walls glowed with soft crystals. Natural fire pit sat in the center, surrounded by smooth stones. The ceiling sparkled like a frozen sky. "It's beautiful," Daniel whispered. Valari placed dry wood in the pit and lit it. The fire rose, bright and alive. "This is where I come when I want to remember," she said. "Remember what?" He asked. "That I still exist," she replied. "That I'm more than what they said I was." Daniel sat down beside her. The fire made his face glow. "You are." For a while, they just sat together, letting the warmth cover them. Then Valari took out something wrapped in cloth. She opened it slowly. Inside was a small stone charm, shaped like a crescent moon. "My mother gave me this before they sent me away," she said. She cried that night. But she didn't fight them. Daniel took the charm in his hand, feeling its smooth surface. "Do you hate her for it?" Valari shook her head. No, she was scared. They all were. Fear controls everything in our world. Daniel stared into the fire. Then, maybe it's time someone challenged that fear. Just as he spoke, a sudden noise echoed through the cuva, distant humming sound, mechanical and low. Valari's eyes widened. That's not natural. They rushed outside. In the sky, a black ship hovered just above the treetops, scanning the ground below. Its lights were red. The symbol on its side was familiar, the mark of the Krylos on patrol. "They found us," Valari whispered. Daniel clenched his fists. "They're here for me." "No," she said. "They're here for both of us." The ship landed nearby with a heavy thud. Snow flew in all directions. Two armored figures stepped out, tall and thin, their silver armor glowing faintly. Valari of Krylos. One of them shouted, voice cold and firm. "Step forward." Valari did not move. Daniel stood beside her. Who are they? Enforcers, she said. They keep the bloodline pure. They were the ones who ordered my exile. Then they're not your friends. Valari took a deep breath. Her body was shaken not from fear, but from something stronger. Anger, pride, defiance. You came a long way, she called out. What do you want? One enforcer stepped closer. The human must leave. It's not part of our species. His presence here is forbidden. Daniel opened his mouth to argue, but Valari raised her hand to stop him. Why do you care now? She shouted. You cast me out years ago. I was nothing to you. You are still nothing, the enforcer said sharply. But your contact with a human could spread corruption. We will not allow that. Daniel stepped forward. I'm not going anywhere. The second enforcer raised a weapon. Valari growled a deep, rumbling sound that made both enforcers pause. She stepped in. Front of Daniel, eyes glowing with fury. You want to remove him? She said. You'll have to go through me. The enforcers hesitated. Valari's size, once a symbol of shame, now stood tall as a wall of protection. She didn't look weak. She didn't look broken. She looked powerful. The lead enforcer lowered his weapon slowly. This is your final warning. See, if you stay with him, you will never be allowed back. You will never be part of Krylos again. I was never part of Krylos, she replied. I belong where I'm respected. And she looked at Daniel. He respects me. The enforcers stared at her for a long moment. Then, without a word, they turned and walked back to their ship. The ship lifted off, vanishing into the sky. Silence returned. VLAR. I let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. Daniel touched her shoulder. That was intense. She looked at him. They will come back with more force next time. Then we'll be ready, he said. She smiled, truly smiled, for the first time in years. Then let's light another fire, she said, and keep it burning. The stars above Krylos looked peaceful that night. But inside Valari's heart, there was a storm. The patrol ship was gone, but she knew it wouldn't be the end. Her people never gave second chances. They saw her as a mistake, as a threat. And if they returned, they would come with more weapons, more judgment. Daniel sat near the fire, rubbing his sore leg. They'll return, won't they? Valari nodded slowly. Yes, they always do. Then we can't stay here forever, he said. She looked at him, her chest tightening. Do you want to leave? Daniel met her eyes. Not without you. Valari didn't speak. She stared into the fire, the flames dancing in her golden eyes. He continued. If we can reach my ship again, I can fix the navigation. But I need time and help. Valari stood up. Then we'll go back tomorrow. At first light, they packed quietly that night. No words, just movements. Valari rolled warm furs into a bag. Daniel checked his damaged tools. The silence between them wasn't cold, it was focused on in the morning. The two walked back through the snowy woods. Daniel limped, but Valari helped him walk. She was strong, always had been. But this time, she wasn't hiding it. When they reached the crash site, the small human ship still sat where it had fallen, its side torn, one wing half buried in snow. But the core was intact. Daniel smiled. Good. We still have a chance. Valari helped him into the ship. He groaned as he sat beside the control panel. "Okay, now let's see if I can wake her up." He pressed buttons, rewired wires, and connected loose cables. Sparks flew. A screen blinked on. Navigation system partially online. The ship's AI voice said, "Warning, fuel cell damage detected." Daniel grinned. "She's alive." Valari raised an eyebrow. "Can we fly?" "Not yet," he said. "But maybe soon." I can fix the converter coil, we'll have enough power to launch. She nodded. Tell me what to do. Daniel looked at her with appreciation. You sure? I'm tired of waiting for life to happen, she said. I want to build it. For the next few hours, they worked side by side. Valari carried heavy parts, moved snow away from buried wires, and even climbed onto the ship's top to check damage. Daniel guided her step by step. They laughed once when she accidentally ripped off an entire panel with her strength. Sorry. She said, honestly, I wish I had 3 of you. He replied, by nightfall, the power core was humming again. Daniel leaned back, exhausted but happy. That's it, he said. We're almost there. Valari sat beside him, wiping frost from her arms. Will we leave tomorrow? Maybe in 2 days, Daniel said. If the weather holds. Valari was silent. Daniel noticed her quiet and asked, what's wrong? She looked at her hands. I never imagined leaving Krylos. Even when they cast me out, I thought, maybe one day they'd let me return. Daniel was gentle. You don't have to leave if you don't want to, but I do, she whispered. Because, with you, I feel like I matter. He looked at her with warmth. You always mattered. That night, they slept inside the ship for warmth. Valari lay near the heater, while Daniel dozed with a blanket over him. But something strange happened while Valari slept. She dreamed. In her dream, she was holding something soft and warm. A child. A baby. It had her eyes. And Daniel's smile. She woke up with tears in her eyes. Her body felt different. Her chest tight, her stomach heavy. She touched it gently. Strange, she stood and walked outside into the snow. The moonlight made everything silver. The air was quiet. Daniel came out minutes later, rubbing his eyes. You okay, Valari turned slowly. Something is strange. What do you mean? She placed a hand on her belly. I feel full, but not heavy. I feel life. Daniel's eyes widened. Valari, do you think? I don't. No, she said quickly. It could be nothing. But he didn't think so. He ran back inside and grabbed his scanning device, a basic tool from his medkit. He pressed it gently to her side. The screen blinked, then blinked again. And then it showed something impossible. A tiny heartbeat. A tiny life. Daniel dropped the device. Valari, you're pregnant. She stared at the screen, frozen. But that can't be. They said it was impossible. Daniel took her hand. They were wrong. Valari's breath caught in her chest. Her legs trembled. I'm carrying life, she whispered. Daniel smiled, his eyes full of wonder. A guy. And it's hours. Valari sat on the floor of the ship, her hands still resting on her belly. Our fingers trembled slightly. The fire from the heater warmed the small cabin. But inside her chest was something hotter, something powerful, a heartbeat, a life, a child. Her mind couldn't fully understand it yet. Her people had said it was impossible. Her body wasn't made for it. But the scanner didn't lie. Daniel had checked twice. Small heartbeat was there, weak, but real. Daniel sat beside her, silent for a long time. He didn't know what to say. Part of him was filled with joy, but another part was worried. They were alone on a frozen planet. She was carrying a child, and they had no help. VLAR, I finally broke the silence. Is this dangerous? Daniel looked at her carefully. I don't know. But we'll figure it out. She nodded slowly. I'm not afraid. I'm surprised. Daniel smiled gently. That makes 2 of us. They spent the next hours in quiet, checking the ship's supplies. The medkit had basic health tools, but nothing advanced. No equipment to monitor a cross-species pregnancy. No medicine for complications. And yet Valari felt strong. She didn't feel sick. She didn't feel weak. She felt live. That night, Valari stepped outside into the snow. The stars above seemed closer, brighter. She looked up, hand on her stomach. "For years," she whispered, "I thought I was broken." Daniel walked up behind her. "You were never broken, Valari." She looked at him, her eyes wet with emotion. "But now, I have proof." They stood in silence together under the silver sky, letting the truth sink in. Valari was going to be a mother. The next morning, Daniel started repairing the final part of the ship. The converter coil needed new wiring, and Valari helped him gently, careful not to strain herself. She moved slower than before. She touched her stomach often, as if reminding herself the life inside was real. Daniel kept glancing at her. He was worried, but also amazed. She didn't show fear, only strength. He admired that deeply. Around midday, the ship's engine finally came to life with a low hum. Daniel shouted, "Yes, she's ready." Valari smiled, holding the edge of the door. "We can leave now, soon," he said. "Just need to run a few tests." But before he could finish speaking, the ground shook. Boom! A loud sound echoed from the north. A shadow moved across the sky. Valari's face turned pale. "They're back." Daniel ran outside and saw a ton of the Krylosan ship, much bigger than the first. It flew low, scanning the snow below. It had weapons this time. He could see them. "We have to hide," he said. Valari shook her head. "They already know where I live. There's nowhere to hide." Daniel grabbed her hand. "We have to protect you. And the baby." Valari froze. This time, the word baby made her stronger, not weaker. She looked at him and nodded. Then we faced them. Together. The large ship landed just beyond the trees. 3 armored Krylosan enforcers stepped out. They moved fast. There. Weapons glowing with energy. Daniel stood in front of the ship's ramp, holding a broken tool as a weapon. It was all he had. Valari stepped beside him, taller than all of them, her long white hair flowing in the wind. One enforcer stepped forward. "You ignored our warning. This time, we take you both." Valari's voice was clear and firm. "I won't go. You don't have a choice." "I do," she said. "And I choose this life. I choose him." The enforcer laughed. "You're carrying a mutant. That's a crime against nature." Daniel growled, "She's carrying our child. And it's not a crime, it's a miracle." The lead enforcer raised his weapon. "Step aside, human." But before he could fire, something strange happened. A bright light burst from Valari's chest. The mark of her speciesa, faint symbol of her bloodlines, suddenly glowed brighter than ever before. The enforcers paused. One of them gasped. "She's activated the star mark." "That's impossible," the leader whispered. "Only royal bloodlines carry that." Valari looked down at herself, confused. Daniel said, "What does that mean?" The enforcer's voice trembled. "The star mark only appears when a new royal life is formed. A child born with powerful genes and unity of 2 kinds. Daniel's eyes widened. "So the child is something new." Valari's heart beat faster. "Then, the baby isn't a mistake. It's a bridge." The enforcers didn't speak. The symbol on her body shone brighter, casting light across the snow. Slowly, the enforcers lowered their weapons. They stepped back. One of them knelt, the others followed. "We were wrong," the lead said. "You are not broken. You are chosen." Valari's breath caught. She looked at Daniel, who smiled at her with pride. "You see," he said, "you were never less. You were always more." And with that, the wind around them calmed. The ship behind them hummed quietly, and inside Valari's body, life grew stronger. Valari stood in the snow with the light of the star mark glowing on her chest. The cold wind no longer touched her skin. For the first time in her life, she wasn't hiding, wasn't ashamed. She stood tall and the world noticed the Kryloson. Enforcers, once ready to destroy her, now knelt before her in silence. They had come to erase a mistake. But instead, they found a miracle. Daniel stood at her side, quiet and watchful. He didn't fully understand what the star mark meant, but he knew one thing: Valari was not just strong, she was powerful. And now, her people saw it too. The lead enforcer looked up. "We believed you were unfit, that your body was wrong. This child, it proves otherwise. A human and a Kryloson. It was never supposed to happen, but it has. And it carries royal blood." Valari stared at them. Her voice was calm. "You cast me out. You let me live alone. You left me to die in the cold." The enforcer lowered his head. "We were wrong." Daniel stepped forward. "Will you try to take her now?" The enforcer stood slowly. "No, we will not fight what the stars have blessed." He turned to his men. "We leave." The three of them returned to their ship without another word. The engines roared. Snow whipped into the air as the ship lifted and vanished into the sky. Silence returned. Daniel let out a long breath. "I didn't think they'd leave." Valari nodded. "Neither did I." He turned to her, smiling gently. "You did it, Valari. You changed everything." She looked at him, her eyes soft. "No, Daniel, we did it." Later that night, they sat inside the ship, now warm and ready for flight. The navigation system was repaired. Fuel lines restored. If they wanted, they could leave Krylos tomorrow. Daniel sat beside her, staring at the stars through the window. "Where do you want to go?" Valari thought for a moment. "Somewhere warm," she said. "Somewhere green. I want our child to see the sun." Daniel grinned. "Earth has all that. Trees, oceans, soft grass. You'd like it." She smiled. "Will they accept me?" "Earth." He laughed. "People there are strange. But if they don't accept you, we'll go somewhere else, anywhere you want." Valari looked down at her belly. "Do you think this child will be normal?" Daniel placed a hand gently over hers. "No, this child will be extraordinary." She leaned into him, her head resting on his shoulder. "I never thought I would have this," she whispered. "What?" he asked. "Hope, family, a future." Daniel held her hand tightly. "You deserved it all along." The next morning, snowflakes fell softly as the ship began to rise. Valari stood at the window, watching the land that had been her prison for so long grow smaller below. Once, she had cried on that frozen ground. She had begged for someone to see her, to understand her. Now she was leaving with more than she ever dreamed of. She was leaving with a child inside, her dot with someone who loved her. With a new beginning, the ship passed through the clouds. Breaking into the stars above, Valari turned to Daniel. "I'm not afraid anymore." "You don't have to be," he said. "You were never broken, Valari, just waiting for the right moment." She reached for his hand. "Then, let's go make something new." And they did. 1 year later, on a green planet filled with tall trees and glowing flowers, a small home stood near a clear stream. The sun was warm, and the sky was blue. Inside the home, laughter echoed. Valari sat on a soft blanket, holding a baby wrapped in fabric. The child had soft blue skin and Daniel's curious eyes. It giggled and reached for her long hair. Daniel entered with a bowl of fruit. "She's already stronger than me," he joked. "She nearly pulled my nose off this morning." Valari laughed. "She's perfect." Daniel sat beside her and kissed the baby's head. "You named her yet?" Valari nodded. "Her name is Solari. It means hope born in the cold." Daniel smiled. "Fits her perfectly." They sat together, watching the baby sleep. Valari looked at her family, her home. She thought of the past, the exile, the pain, the lies she believed about her body. And now she smiled. She had been told she was too big, too wrong, unfit to be a mother. But now she was holding the proof that they were all wrong, and she would never let her daughter feel the shame she once did. Because she was never broken. She was always more than they believed, and now she was whole.